How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be building, or should I say putting together, my second PC build on the PRKR YouTube channel. Now the budget is even lower this time, and we've only allotted ourselves $200 for a full gaming computer. Let's see how I did it. If you guys do want to check out my other build video, it will be linked down below, and it is on my channel. If you guys want to check out my channel, maybe even subscribe, consider liking. I would very much appreciate it. Now let's get into the individual specs of this computer. Alright, I know my last build video I ended up going with a full PC build, but with a budget like this, I am going to have to buy some components together. Now, what I mean by this is I am actually buying a pre-built desktop. Now, this is a desktop that was used for either school or work purposes before, but is now being repurposed and resold online. Now, most of these desktops do come from, warehouse environments, could be even school computers at some point, and then whenever companies or schools are done with them, they sell them off in bulk to liquidation services, which then sell it onto eBay, and that's where I got this one from. Now, the pre-built desktop that I ended up going with is a Dell Optiplex 5050. The reason why I searched out for a Dell Optiplex in general is because you can get very good components for the price. Now, these have been probably the most widely sold pre-built desktop around. Like, if you look up a YouTube video on budget gaming PCs, like, I bet you 5 out of 10 of the videos happen to include a Dell Optiplex. Now, these are just tried and true, tested. Everybody uses them, and I'm going to use it today just because the value is just too good to pass up. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is not the cutest desktop you've ever seen, but that's not the point. The point of this is that if you have $200 lying around and you cannot scrounge together a PC build that's going to be good, like, this is your best option. Now, obviously the aesthetics do play a role in a lot of people's decisions, but in my opinion, at the $200 price range, you really cannot be a chooser because PC gaming is expensive. This is less than any console on the market unless you're gonna buy a used one. So yeah, you're just gonna have to kind of suck it up for a little while. You could always do a case swap in the future, but for $200, like, you really can't complain. As you guys can see from the picture I put on the screen, this desktop does come with an i5 7500 and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, right away, I did think that the RAM was only going to come in one stick, which was gonna be an issue, but thankfully the seller did end up sending this with four 4-gigabyte sticks, which is very, very good because, as you know, dual channel is way better than single channel. Like, the performance is could be up to 30% in some cases, especially like lighter games like esports, which is what we are playing. And yeah, so for the CPU, we did end up going with an i5 7500. This is a very capable CPU. The single threaded performance is very, very good, and I'm excited to see how this build turned out. Now let's go over and talk about the GPU. One thing I want to talk about before the GPU is the storage that comes in this computer. It came with a 256 gigabyte SSD, which is going to be more than enough for the games that I am downloading for this benchmark, but you might want to expand in the future. 256 is really not that big considering Warzone alone is over 100 gigabytes. So if I were you, I would use the M.2 slot on the motherboard and get a faster, maybe 500 gigabyte SSD for like $30. But honestly, for me, I just don't have the budget for it. But just a potential upgrade for you if you were to replicate this build. Alright guys, finally we have the GPU. Now the GPU that we do have and that we did pick out for this video is a GTX 1050 Ti. And I got this for $75. So yes, we are a little bit over budget, $5. But this is a very capable gaming card, and we're honestly kind of stuck with this because this power supply does not have a 6 or 8 pin connector, and adapters can be a little bit dangerous. So yeah, this is only powered by PCIe. It needs no external connectors, and this is a pretty good budget graphics card for the price. I'm going to go ahead and put this build together. Now, the first thing you want to do with these old desktop computers that you get from like warehouses and stuff is replace the thermal paste. Now, this seems like a silly thing to some people, like, oh, why do I have to? Like, it already has thermal paste on it. No, you need to replace it. If you look at my benchmarks, like, it was sitting at 93 degrees as soon as I booted up Overwatch for the first time, and then all I did was change and replace the thermal paste, and it instantly went down to like 65 to 70 as soon as I booted up, which is still a little high, but not terrible. Like, The highest it ever got, I think, was like 80 degrees, and this is on a stock cooler from, you know, 5 or 6 years ago. It's just a Dell. It's not, you know, they're not really assuming that you're going to be playing games on this, so the stock cooler isn't amazing, but 80 degrees on a CPU is not bad, honestly. Alright guys, the rest of the PC build is just me popping in the graphics card and then downloading games. It is not very hard to do, so I'm not going to put a video on the screen. If you want to see a complete build guide, there's hundreds and hundreds of build guides that would be way better than me explaining it on YouTube right now. And without further ado, let's get into the individual game benchmarks. So as you guys can see in the top left hand corner, we are averaging about 180 FPS, which is very, very playable. Honestly, way more playable than my last build, and that's only possible because these pre-built desktops are so cheap. Now, the CPU is sitting at about 100%, so obviously the CPU is the bottleneck here, but this is a very CPU intense game. We are playing on 1080p low, by the way. Next up, we have Overwatch 2, which I have been using in the background anyways. So basically, the background recording was all recorded on this computer. So we are averaging about almost 200 FPS, which is really, really nice. Super high refresh rate, feels super smooth. This game is also running at 1080p low. The reason why I have all these games on low is just because this is more like an esports centered PC, and we're trying to get the most FPS out of it. Next up, we have my favorite, Apex Legends. Now, Apex Legends did not run that great on 1080p low. It averaged about 75 FPS, and I turned it down to 720p low and ended up getting an average of between like 116 to like 125, which I think is the sweet spot. If you're going to play Apex, like, you should be playing it at high refresh rate. Next up, we have Fortnite, and this game was a little bit all over the place. Whenever you use 1080p low performance mode like me, your frame rate can really change. Like, sometimes it's at 90, sometimes it's at 200, but all in all, we did average about 150 to 160 FPS, which is high refresh rate. So yes, you can play Fortnite at high refresh rate on this PC. Last but certainly not least, we have Rocket League. Now, this is not one of my favorite games, but a lot of people, whenever I'm selling these computers, ask me, hey, does this run Rocket League? And yes, it does run Rocket League. It is a little bit all over the place, just like Fortnite, but I think that's just Unreal Engine itself just being very stuttery. But this game ran very, very well, but obviously I am not good at the game. That is going to about do it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and comment down below. It truly lets me know that I should be making these videos. You know, if somebody's going to watch them and somebody's going to appreciate them, then I'm going to continue making these videos. All right, guys, have a great day. Peace.